understand the segments of your clientele, and it's another business lesson from him. And following technology, Mehmet Efendi was one of the first businesses in Istanbul who made good use of the introduction of the trucks, and he was able to package his coffee and deliver it to different parts of the city, and we know this is the third and the fourth generation of the coffee makers in the family. Now, he not only packaged the coffee, but he packaged the image of his company. He had an architectural design for his head office. You can still go to Istanbul, find this Art Deco building from the 30s, and buy your coffee from him. Now, you have to memorize this because there's going to be a test tomorrow on that. Turkish coffee is a method of preparing coffee where finely powdered, we know how fine it was, I told you. This will not come in a test anyway. Roast coffee beans are boiled in a pot we call jezve today. We'll get to that. It used to be made in an ibriki, or just a little pitcher called jezve, and we added sugar depending on taste. But the ground settled, and that's Turkish coffee. It's the only coffee that's made by boiling the finely ground coffee beans. Yes?
I think you're forgetting an important step. You have to measure the water.
Well, of course you have to measure the water. This is where Turkish coffee and Greek coffee differentiates, because they could not afford the expensive beans from Istanbul. They put a lot of water to make Greek coffee, which you ended with hardly any telve at the bottom and any foam on top. So measuring coffee is extremely important. Thanks for reminding me. Now, Robusta and Arabica, we know there's a tropical zone that they grow these beans. Now you can say that is a little question, and which one has a more caffeine content? Obviously we know that Arabica has less caffeine, and these caffeine are carried by the oils in the coffee bean. Now, sometimes you see advertising that is saying that coffee is good for your health. It is an antioxidant. Yes, it is an antioxidant if you do not roast your coffee beans, and if you're willing to eat about 5 kilos a day of ground green beans, you can have some of the antioxidant benefits. But during the roasting, all this is lost. But there's another important thing in there. It's the melanoids in the coffee. Now, people say, should I drink Arabica? Should I drink Robusta? It's just like a good whiskey. I think it can be achieved by blending a variety of coffees. Now, what the melanoids do is this wonderful foam, or a barista would call it very knowingly, a crema. So this crema is caused by the melanoids, and any bean or grain you roast is the same process, the carbonization that creates the bubbles for the beer. It also creates the bubbles for the coffee. This melanoids created and carried coffee doesn't like water, so it forms a sphere and collects on as the foam on the coffee, and it acts as an insulant to keep your coffee hot. So it creates this, it's another function. Now, the way it is served, of course, could add a lot of benefits to coffee. Sometimes, other than the girlfriend of the king dressed up as sultana, some artists turn their attention to the coffee bearer. Here's a very nice John Frederick Lewis picture. You see her carrying the coffee in just the small finjans and small cups. But in the next picture, I think it's a wonderful face. She's carrying an ibriki, and the coffee cups in their envelopes is made with valuable metals, sometimes silver, sometimes other metals, and sometimes turtle's shell in ivory. These are handleless cups, exquisitely made, and in many cases it will be the only objects in a girl's dowry. And they would have, if they're richer families, they would carry 4 or 5 sets for different days, and they would have this called a still set. And this is, as we see in a still set, in a close-up, we have the pitcher, the ibriki, and the coffee cups in their envelopes. Usually, a still set would have a small center section where they would put a few coals to keep it hot, and they would sip it gently over a period of time. Now, the importance of jezve is a later period of time when they introduced this, so people can make, quick on-the-go coffee, and because of its shape, it helps to form of these bubbles on the surface. So it is not haphazard. This is a fantastic industrial design. Now, let's talk a little bit about Coffee Trinity. Of course, it is suggested that you should drink a little bit of water beforehand to clean your palate, and then you can enjoy your coffee, and then you can end up with some Turkish delight. Now, coffee and sugar is a question that people brought a lot. Initially, Arabica is a softer bean. You would not need sugar. When the cheaper version of Robusta grown by the Dutch in the Southeast Asia was introduced, people in the Ottoman Empire complained, saying that this is bitter coffee. And they said, the Dutch at the time said, yeah, we have something else for you too. We also have sugar. So here is some sugar for your coffee. Now, Turks have a very positive attitude towards life. There was a saying that death is upon the world and headache is just an excuse. But many coffee drinkers, who are, each one of them is a philosopher by himself or herself, they say, friendship upon the world, coffee is just an excuse. And I'm open for your questions. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and here we are. Thanks for coming. Are there any questions I can answer? You can ask them in Flemish, French, English, Turkish. I covered all the bases. You are speechless. Amazing. Yes.
Avrupa ile kahvenin gelişini Türkiye açısından açıklar gibi olduk da bu Güney Amerika'da keşiflerinde verisi olmayan.
Oh, okay, South America. Okay, here's a very interesting story. The Ottomans wanted to control the exportation of coffee in such a way that beans would not be able to grow new coffee plants. So to do that, they would either roast it lightly, or they would have the beans sprout just a little bit, so they would only sell those beans. Eventually, some beans from a Indian pilgrim reached to India, but the British were unsuccessful, and then they tried to carry some of them to Java. This is why we call certain kinds of coffee Java, and they were also unsuccessful. And then, for a very interesting reason, both of these coffees, Robusta and Arabica, developed in Ethiopia by about 150 years apart. And of course, the Arabs, they started growing Arabica because it was a better bean, and they discovered this sort of mediocre bean of Robusta, which you don't have to take care too much. It's a very long story to an answer, but anyway, eventually they did grow a coffee plant in the Jardin des Plantes in Paris. So the French said that, I think we can plant this, and they sent it to South America, which is, there's the French Guyana and the Dutch Guyana. They had a little bit of border problem, so to solve this, another diplomat from Brazil came. And the Brazilian diplomat and the wife of the French ambassador to French Guyana, they fall in love. And on his way back, she gave him some coffee beans, which is the mother of all the coffee beans in Brazil and all the coffee beans in South America. So even then, we have a love story for you. Oh, you want me to do it? Can I have a pen? Oh, just because you gave me a pen? Oh, okay. Okay, we have 2 raffles? 4 raffles? 4.
We'll give them together.
Together, okay. I'm writing 2 numbers here, and I want you to guess it.
13.
No, not like that. That would be too easy. Just because you wear green doesn't give you this extra sensory powers. Please pick a number between 1 and 100.
53.
53, 1 and 53.
32.
32 and 53.
35.
35 and 32. 35 and 32. 33. We got the first winner. 33. Sounds like an auction, but I think I learned this from the Dutch flower auction. Okay, we continue with you. 100.
77.
77. 77 and 100.
88.
Hmm?
88.
77 and 88.
86.
77 and 86.
80.
80. 70, 80. 80 and 86. 80 and 83.
81.
You got it. Okay. Since you are fantastic guessers, we want to continue. Okay? With the coffee sets. 2 more numbers. Okay. Okay. Here we continue. Between 1 and 100.
51.
1 and 51.
38.
38 and 51.
40.
40 and 51.
45.
45 and 51. 45 and 51, 50. 45 and 50.
47.
You got it. Here it is. 47. You are so good at this, we don't have enough sets to give away. For our final game, are you sharing it? Really? Should I skip you? Okay. The next coffee set. I want you to win outright. Just say it. 1 and 100. 50. Okay, 1 and 50. 2 and 50. 2 and 40.
21.
21 and 40. Oh, 21?
Yep.
What did I do? 21 and 1. 19 and 1.
14.
14 and 1.
7.
7 and 14. You? Yes. 10 and 14.
12.
10 and 12. 10 and 12. You got me worried for a moment. So, we're in Belgium, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Oh, question.
Yeah, I have
Why you
one more
didn't win? Because you weren't very...
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was my first question. The second question is, there is also a story about fortune telling with the coffee ground. Can
Yes.
you maybe tell us a little bit about how that works?
Well, people, initially, it's a little bit psychology, it's not my area, but people would like to know what's going to happen. I think this is what differentiates us from animals. Because animals, they don't know their ends, and we do. And we would like to know what's going to happen. And they found all kind of excuses to read the cracked tortoise shells in fire and other things, and finding symbols from the sky. So they felt like this was a good medium, and there were some shapes, and they felt like they can talk about this. I think the best way is, because people, that's the part of friendship. When you start sort of aligning your feelings with someone else, you talk and enjoy the coffee, and then eventually, and you have the
Yeah,
instruction.
I was just going to say, you know, if it's all that.
You try to understand your friend. It's more like a psychology thing. So people need it, and this is one way of offering it. So there's nothing magical about it.
It's great, thank you.
I'm a good fortune teller.
One quick follow-up. When did it start? Did it start with the coffee itself?
Well, people were telling fortunes by other things like little
Fortune telling
sticks.
with coffee. When did it start?
I exactly don't know.
Okay.
Exactly, I didn't do it.
If you were a fortune teller, you would be. But
If I was a fortune teller, I'd do it. Thank you. Again, with